Problem number 18. Complete the table and graph using the given equation y equals absolute value of x minus 3. Before beginning this problem, I would be looking at my stations and looking at my functions on the back wall and figuring out this is an absolute value. So I know when I'm done, my graph needs to look like a V. If it doesn't look like a V, I did something wrong. Okay. The other thing that I know is when I get an answer and have it in absolute values, if my answer is negative, it's going to change the answer to positive. So just keep that in mind as we're doing this. Okay, when x equals 0, I'm going to put 0 in here. So I'm going to have 0 minus 3, which is negative 3. But then when I take the absolute value of negative 3, I get 3. The next one, I'm going to have 1 minus 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. But then when I absolute value it, it will turn to 2. When I do 2 minus 3, I will get negative 1, and then the absolute value of negative 1 is 1. The next one is 3 minus 3 gives me 0. 4 minus 3 gives me 1, and the absolute value of 1 is still just 1. It only makes it positive if it was negative, otherwise it just leaves it alone. The next one, we've got 5 minus 3, which is 2, so my answer will be 2. And then 6 minus 3 is 3. So we're all set. And again, the reason that I didn't do anything with the absolute values on these ones is because my answer was already positive. Okay, so now I'm ready to graph those. So if I graph them, I have 0, 3, so I'll stay put and then go up 3. The next one, I'll go over to the right 1 and up 2. The next one, I'll go to the right 2 and up 1. The next one, I'll go to the right 3 and stay put. The next one, I'll go to the right 4 and up 1. The next one will go to the right 5 and up 2, and then I've run out of space for that last one. But hopefully you can see it is making the V, and I will go ahead and put some arrows on because that graph would actually keep going. So that's what my graph should look like. Okay, problem for 19 through 22. Decide if the following represent functions or not. Explain why or why not to receive full credit. So a couple things we want to make sure with the directions. If it says decide if the following represent functions or not, our answer should be a yes or no answer, and then we need to definitely explain. So let's make sure we do that. Okay, if I look at the first example, let's see, it looks like I have all different inputs, and so every input has its own output. So I'm going to say on this one, yes, and then I'm going to say every input has exactly one output. Okay, I'm going to show you a different way too. I could have graphed this. I would have done 1, 7, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 7. And then if I'd have tried to do the vertical line test, whoops, this would have passed the vertical line test because each of those vertical lines only passes through points one time. All right, next we have y equals 8x minus 7. The easiest way to do this is look at the posters on the wall, and I notice that y equals 8x minus 7 is a member of the linear function family. So I'm going to say, yes, this is a function, and that is because it is a member of the linear family. Okay, number 21, since I'm given a graph, I'm actually going to do the vertical line test on this one. So if I do lots of vertical lines, each of those vertical lines only passes through the graph one time, which tells me that every input has exactly one output. So I'm going to say yes on this one, and I'm going to say the graph passes the vertical line test. And remember, we just don't want to abbreviate into VLT unless you have told me what VLT stands for. Okay, the last one, 22. A teacher makes a table that lists the number of letters X in the last name and the number of letters Y in the first name of each student in the class. So in order to test this, I'm going to make myself a table, and let's make sure we're paying attention to what this stands for. X is the number of letters in the last name, so I'm going to do mine first. So in the word Wiersma, last name, I have 7, and then the number of letters in my first name for Y, my first name is Joan, so I have 4 letters in my first name. Okay, let's see somewhere else. I'm going to actually think of my husband, Kent Wiersma. He has 7, and he also has 4, so that really didn't show me anything. Let's see here. trying to think of another person who has 7 letters in their last name. You're probably one of them, and you're going, it's me, it's me. Let's see. Let's say somebody's last name is, I'm trying to think of anybody right now. Okay, let's just say somebody has 7 letters in their last name too. And their first name is Joe. So they have 3 letters in their first name. So you'll notice right away now, this is not a function because you could have 2 people that have the same number of letters in their last name, but they have a different number of letters in their first name. So this is definitely going to be no. And I'm actually going to write that explanation. 2 people could have the same number of letters in their first name, but a different number of letters in their last name. There we go. Alrighty, problem 23. TCBY charges $3.50 for a large cup of frozen yogurt plus 89 cents for each additional topping. They offer 8 different toppings. The total cost of the yogurt, Y, is a function of the number of toppings. Alright, so identify the independent and dependent variables. So first of all, my independent and my dependent. Which do I get to pick? Well, I definitely get to pick how many toppings. So I'm going to put for the independent is going to be the number of toppings I decide to put on my yogurt. Okay, and then the dependent, what depends on how many toppings I choose? Well, of course, the total cost is going to depend on how many toppings I choose. Right? Then it says to make a table of values for all numbers in the domain. So the domain is all the toppings I can pick. They offer 8 different toppings, so I'm going to put here N and Y. Notice I'm using N this time instead of Y because they told me to right here. Okay, I could pick no toppings. I could pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, so if I pick no toppings, they're still going to charge me $3.50 for my cup of yogurt. And then let's see if we can figure the rest of these out. If I have 1 topping, they're going to add 89 cents to my price. So that will be $4.39. And if I get 2 toppings, I need to add another 89 cents. That's going to be $5.28. If I get 3 toppings, I'll add another 89 cents. And that will give me $6.17. If I add another topping, add another 89 cents, it's going to be $7.06. If I add another topping, that's going to be $7.95. If I add another topping, that's going to be $8.84. If I add another topping, that's going to be $9.73. And if I add another topping, that's going to be $10.62. So I definitely don't think I'd want 8 toppings on my yogurt to pay $10 for a cup of yogurt. That would be a ripoff. Okay, so we've made a table of values for all numbers in the domain, and then it says to identify the range. Well, remember the range is going to be all the different prices that I could pay. So I'm going to start the smallest, assuming I get yogurt, it's going to be $3.50. The largest, according to this example, would be $10.62. All right. Number 24, identify the domain and the range. Okay, remember the domain is going to be all of my x values and my range is going to be all the possible y values. And since these are just points, I'm actually just going to list the points. That first point looks like it's -6, 5. I might be off, but I think that's what it is. Point B is 1, 3. Point C is 6, 0. And point D is -1, -5. Okay, so when we're listing the domain is going to be all of the x's. And since they're not connected, we're not going to put a dash like through. We're just going to actually list them. So -6, 1, 6, and -1. Right? The range is all of my y values. And again, since they're not connected, we can actually just list all the y values that are used. So we used 5, 3, 0, and -5, and that is it on that problem. Okay, last problem. Let f of x equals 2x minus 4. Find f of negative 4. Please remember on this problem, f of x is just alerting us to the fact that it is a function, so we will not use that when we're working on our answer. F of negative 4 basically just means wherever I see an x, we're going to put a negative 4. So this is going to be 2 times negative 4 minus 4. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, minus 4 is negative 12. Okay, the next one, wherever I see an x, I will put a 0. So 2 times 0 minus 4. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 4 is negative 4. And f of 5, wherever I see an x, I'll put a 5. So I'll have 2 times 5 minus 4. That will give me 10 minus 4, which is 6. And I believe we're done.